Thank you so much for joining me for the Sanctuary Sunday School. I really appreciate you being here. Those of you who have been watching every week and giving me feedback, thank you. Those of you who are new, I hope that you enjoy, and I hope you stick around and enjoy this community of the Sanctuary Academy with us. Today's subject is Seek My Face, and we can find this text in the book of 2 Chronicles in the 7th chapter. Now, over the past couple of weeks, we talked about Solomon's temple and the completion of the temple and Solomon's prayer of dedication and how the people came in and worshiped God. And then last Sunday, we talked about how God accepted the offerings and he sent fire and the glory cloud to acknowledge his presence in the temple. Now, today we're still talking about King Solomon and God. And it's amazing to see how faithful God is and that he always has a plan for his people. Even when we don't do right, and even when we don't live right, God is still thinking of us and he's planning ahead and he has a plan. So when we see our lesson here, God came and he appeared unto Solomon at night. And it was somewhat of instruction, but it was also warning and possibly even foreshadowing what was going to happen. The first thing he said, what if I should shut up the heavens and not let it rain and there would be a drought? Or what if I allow locusts to come and devour the earth? Or what if I allow diseases to attack people and all of these things? And he started to talk about all of these things. And what this indicates to me is that, yes, God is merciful. He's just, he's loving, he's gracious. But more than anything else, God is holy. And God has a requirement of holiness for his people. And sometimes as spiritual leaders or as people in ministry, it gets difficult when we try to maintain that standard, because sometimes as human beings, we want to do what we want to do and we don't always make the right decision and do what's right. But there needs to be someone who's going to stand up for holiness, because God does not accept anything less. And so we see right off the bat at the beginning of this lesson, he's talking about all of these things that could possibly happen to you if you don't obey the Lord. And he's saying, I'm here. I have hallowed this house. I've put my name in this house. I have answered your prayer. I've done my share. This is God talking, right? I've kept my end of the bargain. Now you had better keep yours, because now that you have built this house and you have put my name on it, okay? And you know how we are. Even I'm that way about business. Anything that I attach my name to has to have a certain standard of excellence, because I don't want my name attached to anything that's not the highest quality. So God is saying, okay, you said this is my house, right? And you put my name on this house. I come to this house. Therefore, there is a certain standard. And this is such a strong lesson to us as Christians, as people of God, not just the house of God. Because remember, a few weeks back, I kind of pushed this a little bit to say that the house of God, the temple of the Lord, is our bodies. So when we say that I love God, I believe God, I'm a follower of Christ, we are setting a high bar. We're setting that standard of holiness for ourselves. And when you set that standard of holiness and you make that commitment or connection to God, we have to be so careful what we do, what we say, and where we go, because God is saying, okay, you're using my name. And if you're going to use my name, you better use my name the right way, because if you don't, it is not going to turn out well for you. So I started talking about these things, say, hey, I'm God. There is no getting around me. You can't get over me. If you don't meet my standards, these are some of the things that can happen to you. I love the way that God talks to his people in these verses, which we're seeing how God just talks to Solomon, instructs him, and tells him what to do. And he will do the same thing for us. If you look at it, it says that he came to him by night. And I'm not sure if coming to him by night was significant, but we do see that a lot. I know for me, sometimes God talks to me at night because it's the end of the day. I've done everything for my job, for my daughter, for my church. And it seems like soon as I sit down and say, okay, I'm done, and I'm ready to relax my mind and just focus on resting, that's when God will come to me and he'll show something to me. He'll reveal something to me and he'll give me an idea. And so we see this a lot, that God comes to people at night, because maybe it's just at a time when we'll be more receptive and focused on him. But at any rate, he did come to Solomon. And I love the way that God is so thorough and he's so clear and concise. You know, there's nothing for us to be confused about. All we really have to do is do exactly what God tells us to do. And we've been seeing that over and over and over again through these lessons. We talked about Abraham and Isaac and now King Solomon. All of these men just did what God told him to do, and that's the same requirement that he has for us, to obey him. So he's talking about this temple, and then he goes on to talk about David, and he reestablishes or reiterates the covenant that he made with Solomon's father, David. And he told him again, he said, I'm going to be with you just like I was with David, as long as you keep my statutes and you do things my way and obey me and honor me. I will be with you. And he said, and I'm not going to fail your seed. I will be with any king from the line of David that comes. He said, but they have to do what I tell them to do, because if they don't, then there will be punishment and consequences for them as well. And then he goes on to talk about the temple itself, because he said, again, I'm in this temple. I'm dwelling in this temple. This is a house of worship that I'm honoring. So you can come here, you can pray, you can put things on the altar, and I will accept your offering. So he's saying all of these things to King Solomon. But then he also goes on to say what's going to happen if you should neglect me and follow idol gods. Now remember, if you go back to the 10 commandments that God gave to Moses when they came out of the wilderness, and when they came out of Egypt and they were in the wilderness, the very first commandment, what does it say? Thou shalt have no other God before me. So we already know God does not play when it comes to these idol gods. And that's what he told him. He said, and if you do that, not only will my presence not be in this temple, but this temple will be destroyed. And not only is the temple going to be destroyed, but your people are going to be plucked up out of this land. You can't even live in my holy city and not serve me, is what God was telling them. And that's why I say it was somewhat of a foreshadowing, because if you go back to the beginning of the year, we were talking about Daniel and Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego. That's exactly what did happen. They turned and they started to worship idol gods. And the next thing they knew, King Nebuchadnezzar had come in, destroyed that temple, and uprooted them and taken them out of Israel into Babylonian captivity. And this is a side of God that I think is so important for us to understand, because sometimes we want the blessings, right? And we want to talk about how good God is, and God is going to bless me, and God is going to give me this. Yes, God is merciful, and he does. He reigns on the just as well as the unjust. So there are certain things that God is going to do for us, and there are certain things that he will be for us just because he's God. But there's other things. There's certain blessings that come along because he expects us to serve him. And when we don't do that, we find ourselves in a position of judgment. And that's something that you do not want to incur, the judgment or the wrath of God on your life. And sometimes people don't want to talk about that, or we skip over that and act like it doesn't exist. And I say sometimes I see people, and you try to be nice and you try to be loving, but I see people just stuck in ruts, and they keep doing the same things, and they come back and they want you to help them, and they want you to pray for them. And I'm looking at them and I'm going, but what you're doing is perpetuating that problem. You're in that situation because of what you're doing, and you won't stop. But you keep coming back to the church, getting in the prayer line for the same thing, and then you're going back out there, living your life the same way, doing the same thing, and it's a cycle. And it's a difficult position to be in, to be that person, to say to someone, if you change your life, if you do this, then the Lord will bless you. Because now, as I say all the time, the buzz phrase is, you're judging me. You're trying to tell me this. You're trying to tell me that. And we don't really want to face our own sin. We don't want to really have or be accountable for our own actions. But we see here clearly in this text, you can say I'm judging you. You can say the preacher is picking on you, all of those things. But at the end of the day, God requires holiness. And when we don't meet that requirement of holiness, the consequences are severe, and they're just not worth it. And I say all the time, we live in an age where we should appreciate having that person in our lives who will tell you the truth. I say it all the time. People who just let you do whatever and never call you on it. Oh, yeah, you're good. You okay. Do you. And that's what we want to hear. People who do that to you when they know that you're on a path to destruction, not only do they not love you, they don't even like you, because they're allowing you to continue in a way unchecked that they know is going to end up no good for you. People who love you tell you the truth. God loved King Solomon, and he told him, hey, this is what you have to do. I have blessed you. I have hallowed this temple. I am here. I have established a covenant with your father that I am going to keep. This is your end of the deal. And when you speak of a covenant goes both ways. It is a promise. It is an agreement. You do this, I do that. That's what a covenant is. So it's not fair for us to expect God to keep his end of the bargain and we don't keep ours. And so God, he made it so clear. He said, if my people, right, who are called by my name, let's stop right there. You're calling yourself a child of God. You're using my name. If you're going to carry my name and say that you're a child of God, then you have to conduct yourself in a way that is holy, because I am God and I am holy. So my people, which are called by my name, humble themselves. I'm God. Okay, so you need to worship me. You need to bow down. You can't come to me in a way where you're unwilling to give up your sin. You have to come to me in a way of worship with humility and bow down and serve me. Humble themselves and pray. Go to the Lord. Talk to God. Then it says, seek my face, which is the subject of this lesson. Seek my face. Okay. People come to church for a lot of reasons. And sometimes I wonder, what those reasons are. But there's only one reason to go to the house of the Lord, and that is to seek the Lord. Seek means to look for something. That means you want it, and you need to seek it. When you're looking for it, you're looking for it until you find it. So he says, seek my face. Then he says, turn from your wicked ways. You can't seek the Lord and continue to walk in sin, because if you're walking in sin, you're not trying to find God. You're going in the other direction where God is not there. You got to go towards the Lord. Seek his face. Turn from your wicked ways. And then he said, then I will hear from heaven. Now get this. He said, I'm going to forgive their sins. He said that before he said heal the land. He said, forgive their sins. Sometimes we come to God with our problems first, right? Lord, I need you to deliver because I need a house, I need a car, I need a job, I'm sick. Those are the things that we bring to God. God is saying, I'm going to forgive your sins before I heal your land. Turn from your wicked ways. Seek my face. Then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sins. Sometimes what we need to do is just say, Lord, forgive me. Lord, I'm sorry. Lord, I want to live right. I'm tired of the way I'm living. I don't want to live in sin anymore. I want to walk in your ways. I want to be holy. I want to be righteous. I want to be acceptable unto you. Sometimes that right there is the key to all of your problems. Am I saying that living right changes and makes all of your problems go away? No, I am definitely not saying that. But I will tell you this, which is what I know from personal experience. Having a personal relationship with God and living a life that is holy and righteous gives you the strength and the courage to walk through your problems, and you can function and you can thrive and you can have joy and peace right in the midst of your storm. God has a way of carrying you through your problems where people can't even look at you and tell what's going on with you, what's going wrong with you. God does not eliminate your problems in the world, but he gives you the strength to overcome them. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth them out of them all. Delivereth. When you see that ETH on the end of a word, it means continually, every day. Every problem that I have, God is right there to deliver me. Every heartache, every pain, every ache, God is right there to carry me through. And let's go back again a few weeks back to 3 Hebrew boys, which is one of my favorite scriptures. He said, I know that my God can deliver. And even if he doesn't, I'm still not going to bow down to the devil. Seek my face. I'm going to seek the face of the Lord no matter what. And there's a saying, there's a quote that I like that says that whatever you're looking for, that's what you're going to get. So if things are going wrong in your life and things seem to be spiraling out of control, I dare you, seek the face of the Lord. And here's the funny thing about it, that it requires that faith. That's why we had the unit on faith before this unit. It requires that faith. Once you furnish the faith to seek the Lord through everything, when it looks like you're about to lose everything you have, when you seek the Lord's face, next thing you know, you start to get those other things that you were striving for, right? Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and its righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. But see, when you start to seek those things and you don't seek the Lord, that's when stuff just starts to fall off and you can't figure out what's going wrong and you don't know what's going on. You don't know how to fix it. All you have to do is seek the Lord. If my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, I will forgive their sins, and I will heal the land. We live in a land that definitely needs healing today, and the healing is there. All you have to do is go to the Lord and seek his face.